I have massive respect
They did it.
to those guys who put together Hey Neighbour. It was massive.
Why is it that township businesses never grow to be brands? So for me, even this idea of creating jobs, why are we creating jobs? I go to school, I buy a Mini Cooper, send him to school, fetch him from school. I was doing all of these things, and then when he passed away, I was like, there's no point.
Pat. It's patonbrands.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the patonbrands and a patonbrands podcast with Pat, and she's not here again. But we got Bogosi in the house. What's up?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, man. I'm glad you could join us today.
It's a pleasure.
I know it's December. You could have been elsewhere, but you chose to be with us.
I'm where I should be.
You're where you should be. Love that. A lot of people, obviously, in the marketing community, know who Bogosi is. And for those who are not in the industry, who is Bogosi?
Philosophically or just generally?
General, philosophically, you can add one or two elements.
So my name is Bogosi. I was born and bred in Soweto.
Sure.
I was born in Middlelands, and then Zone 2.
Ndofai.
Ndofai.
Yeah.
Salamakad Bogis.
Yeah.
From Middlelands, and then we moved to Bramfisherville. Do you know Bramfisherville?
Bramfisher. Is it the one close to Dobsonville?
For sure.
Uh-huh.
That's the one.
Yeah.
From Bramfisher.
Yeah.
That's me. That's where I grew
And
up.
advertising, how do you end up in this space?
How did I end up in advertising?
Yeah.
So I was in grade 9, where in the English class, so we had like different things on different days, and I think on Wednesdays we had comprehension tests.
Which school is this where you had different things on different days?
It's just a school.
Is it just a school in the hood, or it's just a school elsewhere?
It was a school elsewhere.
Okay.
It was the school is Northview High.
Northview High.
Yeah, in Highlands North.
Oh, in Highlands North.
Yeah.
The Highlands North, opposite Melrose Arch. On the other side, huh?
Is it? I'm bad with geography and directions.
Or close to Alex.
Close to Alex.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of the students at Northview High were from Alex.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to Northview High, and in grade 9, I'll forever be grateful to Mrs. Stain. I'm not even sure if she's still alive.
Gotcha.
But so we were in the English class, comprehension test, and then under there we did what we call, as mentioned, a comprehension test.
Yeah.
But then, and it was interesting because at that time, I don't think I was doing that well at school. My marks were not that impressive.
Yeah.
I was just an average student. So there was an article. So you read an article or you read a piece of text and then you answer questions.
Yeah.
There was an article, and I remember the headline of the article. It was called "The Walking Billboard," and that article was about Michael Schumacher. So you had the article, you had the picture of Michael Schumacher, with his suit, and it was branded.
Yeah.
So it was like comprehension. Underneath that, for that day, we did advertising. So that's how I got introduced into advertising. And then after the test, I got 98%. And it was the first time,
You ever got the 98%?
It was the first time I got 98%.
Yeah.
And then I was like, there's something here.
Yeah.
I think that's when I fell in love with advertising. It's like when you first taste success,
Yeah.
So to speak, in a world where you are tested every now and then, you have to compete with other students. So I got 98%. Then I got interest in advertising. And then I did my research. Interestingly, Bama lady, Bava Kaufela, Bava di Stokfele.
Yeah.
So one of her friends, went to Rosebank College. When I found out, he did also advertising. And then I did some research. I found out that Rosebank College offered advertising.
Gotcha.
And then, I studied advertising. It was called Diploma in Advertising Management at that time.
So they had to add management there to make it more.
It sounds legit.
Yeah.
It sounds legit.
Yeah.
It sounds proper. So I studied advertising for 2 years. But I ended up doing 3 years because in my second year, my brother passed away. And then when he passed away, I was like, I'm not gonna...
It's the first time a guest uses the word UCK.
My bad. You can beep it out.
Yeah.
So I had given up. So I gave up. I was like, there's no point. And the reason I gave up was that my whole life was structured around him.
Was it an older or younger?
Younger brother. So I thought I was going to do the things that are going to relieve my parents of doing stuff. So I thought it was my responsibility then to take him to school to do stuff. So I had this world planned out where I go to school, I buy a Mini Cooper, I send him to school, fetch him from school. I was doing all of these things. And then when he passed away, I was like, there's no point in doing all of these things. And then it happened in the early year of my second year. And then I was like, I'm not doing this thing. Then I stayed home for 6 months. And then my dad convinced me to carry on, to go back to school. So I did, in my second year, I did the second semester, had to come back for the third year to then do my first semester. So that's why it took 3 years, And then, interestingly, when we were there was a lecturer. It's so funny. And that's how I actually got introduced to Vega as a school. It was so interesting. So I think the lecturer knew something that we didn't. So imagine you are at a school and you're doing an advertising course. And then the teacher says, or the lecturer says, do you guys really want to do advertising?
What kind of a question is that?
What kind of a question is that?
Yeah.
What do you mean, do we want to do advertising? And then he was like, I think he felt sorry for us because he knew something that we didn't. And the thing that he knew was that if you really want to do advertising, you have to do it at the school that offers advertising.
That is the best.
The school that is the best in the category of this qualification. That's when I started to do research of Vega, Man, when I did my research and I looked at the fees, I was like, no, actually, I think I belong here.
Where, at Rosebank College?
Yeah. I was like, I'm where I should be. The fees that you pay at Vega for 1 year, that would cover your diploma, your whole diploma, your textbooks, transport money, food money.
Hectic.
Like literally, that's how expensive it was. But then my mind was opened as to, and then when I did research, I knew that, Vega is the place to be.
Got you. And you went to Vega, and did you finish studying at Vega? Did you get to study even at Vega?
Interestingly, so I finished the diploma, right? And remember, I took 3 years doing which was supposed to be 2 years. And the folks are like, we paid for this diploma. What's happening?
What's the
What
ROI?
did you do? Yeah, it's like, exactly. As brand managers would say, what is the ROI for us?
Yeah.
So they paid, and you can imagine for parents who don't have much, and they pay so much money, then it's like, and advertising was not a thing. I think they had heard it for the first time from me,
Hectic.
They heard advertising for the first time from me, therefore they didn't know. I think they started to question, even though they didn't verbalize it, but I think they started to question what it is that I study. So I struggled for a year not finding a job. And then I was working at this retail store where, do you remember Glosel?
Oh, yes.
The mobile generation. So I was working for a store that sold. In fact, before that, I then got a call through that struggle, the first year of struggle. I got a call from a lady. I'll never forget this lady. It's like, hey, Bogosi, we've got a 1-year learnership.
You never forget a lot of ladies in your life, ne? It has Mrs. Stain, and that is this one.
No, if we keep talking, we'll see how long the list is. But then her name is Lucy. Lucy, I'm so grateful to Lucy. She did something which I don't think she was supposed to do or needed to do. So she calls me. She's like, we've got a 1-year learnership. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm struggling with a diploma. What am I going to do with a 1-year certificate? So in my mind, I was like, I've got a diploma, offering a certificate. So I said to her, listen, exactly what I'm telling you is what I told her. I'm struggling. Right now, what I need to do is to find a job. So that's what I told her.
Sure.
If it was someone else, they would have dropped the call. And then what happened was she insisted, and the way...
you do the cause.
The way she said it made so much sense, which is one of the principles that I apply in my life as well. She said, I hear you, but before you decline, come, see what is on offer, and then
make an informed decision.
I went there. As soon as I walked in, my mind was blown. I went from, I don't need a certificate to...
Was this at Vega?
Wait. My mind went from, I don't need this certificate, I need to find a job, to, this is home. This is where I should be. This is where I belong. So the institution offering this 1-year learnership was, so Vega had an initiative. It was called Imagination Lab. So when I got there, so she did mention, she said Imagination Lab. It's like Imagination Lab. The part that she didn't mention was that it was a Vega initiative. So when I got there, I saw Imagination Lab, and then at the bottom it says Vega Initiative. That's when I understood, again, I think the power of brand. Even though it wasn't Vega, but it was a Vega initiative. And then,
That really
encouraged you. And then when I got there, I was like, I didn't want to leave. I did my assessment. According to, the criteria, I think I was like a year over the bracket. I think it's because I also did an extra year at Rosebank College. So the age criteria was sort of like I was out. But then I was there. I saw the assessment. My mind was like, this is Vega. This is the closest I could get to Vega. Wrote the assessment, and I passed. And then I went through this 1-year learnership. So the learnership is like Vega, 3 years condensed into 12 months. So you do everything. You do marketing, critical thinking, design, Photoshop. I hate Photoshop till this day. I don't like Photoshop. I don't like designing. It's not my thing. Thank God for AI.
Oh my
I'm kidding.
Are you one of those?
No, I'm kidding. But it wasn't my strongest thing. Although, then when we were being taught, I could play around with certain things. But, so you did the whole thing. And then, I think in August, September, right before the end of the year, Vega has what they call brand challenge. They do brand challenges. And then what they did, which was something that they had never done before, was to invite kids from Imagination Lab to be part of the Vega brand challenge.
Oh, nice.
When I got there, just the environment, just being there, I remember I picked up a brochure, and the brochure spoke about a strategy course. It was called BBM, Brand Building Management. Man, that description spoke to, it was literally like, I was like, this is me. When I read the description of...
It was tailored for you.
It was, that thing was designed for me. So when I got there, we did the whole brand challenge. So luckily, the team I was in was amazing. The those ladies were incredible.
See, other ladies.
I'm blessed. What can I say? So those women were phenomenal. They embraced me. They welcomed me. And what I did is I was given the opportunity to participate in the whole brand challenge process. So the whole process is you start an agency. So you go through different phases until you answer the brief. The first one is you have to build your own identity, your agency identity. You go through that process. You say, okay, this is who we are. This is our philosophy. And then you go through research plan presentation. You do your research plan. You do the presentation. Your plan is how you are going to do the research. You do that. And then you do the research. You present your findings. And then you present your strategy. And then you present 3 concepts. And then the lecturers select one. And then you go out with, you implement the one that's being approved. Because of I went through that process where I was active, I was, participating, I was involved. I think that made me stand out. And in that standing out, there was one of the lecturers at the end. So what happens is you go through this whole process, and then in that process at the end, because it's for marks, it's an assignment for the students. You go through that feedback process where they say, these are the group marks, or this is the mark for the group, and then it's a very rigorous process of, so if there's 4 of us in the group and we get like 80%, but I was not performing, I was not delivering, I'll get less than the group. And then if I was going above and beyond, then I would get more than the group. Yeah. So it was in that session where I also went, because I didn't want to leave Vega. I was like, hey, I want to go to this thing. In fact, I think I asked a friend of mine, Evro, I was like, hey, this thing, should we go? He's like, yeah, no, go. I went. When I got there, one of the lecturers was like, hey, Bogosi, why don't you apply for a bursary? Hey. No. Poverty and struggle will make you make bad decisions. So when the lecturer said you should apply for a bursary, I was like, I need a job. So in my mind, So in my mind, I was like, I just did 3 years of diploma, which is supposed to be 2 years, and another year of a certificate. That's 4 years. How long is a degree? 3 years.
3 years.
Oh my goodness. I know. And then the lecturer was like, his name was Jono. He's a guy. His name is Jono. He was like, no, just give it a shot. Long story short, applied for a bursary, and then I was given a bursary by an agency called Owen Castle. But the criteria to qualify was you needed to be in Vega already, so they'll give you a bursary for your second year. But because I was not in Vega.
But you're part of Imagination Lab.
Yeah, so that doesn't necessarily count. But then luckily they offered me the bursary. And that's how I got into Vega.
Sure. So obviously now you're running Thinkeneur, which is something that we're going to talk about. But do you still have the same excitement that you had about the industry when you walked into the Imagination Lab?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I do. I don't think the industry is where it should be, or maybe I'm just crazy, but I do have the excitement because of the imagination I have of what is possible. That's where the excitement comes from, not from what's happening currently. There are interesting things that are happening, but not really exciting. So I still do have the same excitement from when I walked in, held that brochure and be like, this is it. Yeah. Still have the same excitement.
And currently, what are you busy with? What are you doing?
I think to answer that, the name Thinkeneer actually came when I was at Vega.
Interesting.
It it came. So at the end of your degree, you have to do your portfolio of evidence, to say, to showcase your work.
Yeah.
So that's where actually the name Thinkeneur came from. And it's still the same philosophy of why it exists at the core, was that, so the name is made up of two names. It's thinking and entrepreneurship. And where it came from was the idea, so there were things, so my philosophy is try to fix things, right the wrongs of things. And one of the things that I was thinking about at that time deeply was, why is it that township businesses never grow to be brands? So if you think about a spaza shop, I think we are the ones who limit the potential of a spaza shop. Pick and Pay was literally a spaza shop. All these things, they started as one. It was a shop. So if you don't literally think about a spaza shop that you see in the township, but in principle what a spaza shop is, it's a Pick and Pay. Because we go to macro, at home there was a spaza shop. So wholesale, you go to macro or you go to jumbo, you buy a lot of stock, it gets discounted and then you add a markup. That's what these guys are. So I never understood why Bab Dlamini and Sons would be like that for 20 years. You grow up, you are young, you go to Bab Dlamini, you buy sweets, you grow a little bit older, you buy bread, you go a little bit older, now you start to buy a black label. But it's the same thing,
So it never progresses, for lack of a better word. Like
it doesn't progress.
Doesn't move forward. It doesn't have a branch. It doesn't employ more people.
Why are we not franchising?
There are no systems.
Yeah. And I think that's what Mkolisi is trying to solve for, with his Konala initiative. There are no systems. There's no brand thinking. We're not thinking in brand building ecosystem, building systems, brand colors, customer service, and all of these things. So my thing was, I want to be the thinking partner to entrepreneurs.
Nice.
Hence Thinkeneer.
Thinkeneer.
Yeah.
Have you been?
To some, yes. But there are then real challenges because at the same time, it's not necessarily an NPO. You're trying to run a business because you're offering services.
Got you.
But they either don't have the money or don't see the value. Sometimes.
Got you, which is something that I really, I would like us to talk about in depth.
Yeah.
The notion, I think, for many SMMEs, you can agree or disagree with me, see branding and marketing as an
expense.
As an expense, it's like buying insurance as a garage purchase. You need it, but you can do without, because there's businesses or SMME brands that have managed to grow, over time without a thinking partner. And they've amassed a certain number of following on Instagram, because the owner maybe knew certain celebrities and they gave away merchandise and products. And to them, that's marketing and branding, right? Then now you come in as Thinkeneur and say, look, let us be your thinking partner in turning your business into a household brand. And this is how much it's going to cost you. And they're sitting there and they're looking at your CE and they're like, but we've been doing it for the past however many years and we made money and we are growing. So yeah, I just want you to maybe agree or disagree with.
100%. And I think if you think about, why people get into business, especially in the township, most people still aspire to find or get a job. And then
it's more of a survivalist.
Yes, it's a survivalist, not from an opportunity perspective.
And growth.
And growth.
Yeah.
It's more from, I can't find a job, therefore I will do this thing. So the thinking is already stifled, or thinking is already limited.
Hectic.
From that perspective. But I also see it in bigger companies where they don't see value in applying thinking to the business. They always want, so brands and companies are happy to pay for the output, not for the thinking that would lead to...
Because the thinking is intangible.
Yeah.
It's what does it call it? Is it tacit? It's in your mind. It's sometimes it's hard to even fully sort of articulate.
Correct.
But the output, they can see. Oh, we put up a poster. We put up a billboard on X and Y
Correct.
road. We put up a TVC. Did you see how dope it was?
Yeah.
You know, so they can see those things, and that's why maybe they are willing to pay for those than the thinking.
Yeah.
And also, not a lot of people are gifted in thinking, and if you're not gifted in thinking, you don't like to be put in a position to think.
Well, I think you know, a lot of people think, but I think what probably isn't a gift to everyone is having a vision. You know, because to be able to say we're gonna do this because it's gonna achieve this type of return, not now but later.
Yeah.
I think you need a different type of mindset for that completely. That's why not everybody can be a founder, a succeeding founder. Because if you think about the DNA of founders, they have the ability to then override the tendency or the temptation to look at things in a short-term view. And that's why it's critical to have founders, you know, who have the vision and know what it takes to get there. You know, great founders are able then to share the vision and inspire people to see beyond, you know, the limitations.
The short term and whatever challenges they may be facing.
Correct.
I mean, I find it very interesting you say that, and but then again, the funny part is that if you were to ask those people that don't believe in marketing and branding or investing in marketing and branding, they would claim to have a long-term vision.
Yeah, I think it depends also what you're talking about. So some people talk about long-term objectives, and they might frame them as a vision, which is which is not. A vision, in its truest sense, is unattainable in the short term. I think there's significance to a vision, a proper vision. It tries to change things, it tries to improve things, it tries to make things better. You know, so even the idea of better in itself is not tangible, but you can sell, I don't know, 100 sneakers. You know, 100 pair of jeans. But a vision, you can't touch it. You can't. You know, I think proper visions actually should make you know, the average mind uncomfortable, you know, and almost feel like, hi, what?
It's impossible. This person is mad.
This person is mad. It's what do you mean? No, you know.
It's like Tepo, you know. When Tepo started the jeans and people were like, exactly. Who's gonna wear Tepo?
I mean,
like, are you mad? Like, tell me, show me, I'll check out Kasi. That's gonna rock up wearing Tepo jeans.
Exactly.
So, but I guess we're conscientized. I don't know. Maybe because it's not European. So if it's not European, it's a problem.
Yeah, I think also I think even that, unfortunately, the name Tepo is a brand in culture or subculture. You know, when people make jokes around, hey, don't date the Tepo. There's an association to that. You know, it's like, what's Tepo Babora? Or what's Tepo Baitsam? There's a brand.
Speaking of Tepo, right? And I mean, Tebe Galafing always tells the story of how, you know, how Tepo brand, you know, sort of grew or blew up, but also the notion of us always wanting external validation as Africans. You know, like, for example, with Tepo, you had what's her name? Meghan Markle, you know, coming into the country, you know, and saying, hey, let me check out Tepo jeans. Gets some Tepo jeans, takes a picture, post it, you know. I love Tepo jeans. Now South Africans
there's something there.
At demanding.
Yeah, no, we like,
you know,
It's legit.
It's legit, you know. So that sort of external validation also is a big thing. I think maybe that we're suffering from.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a deep psychological thing. Also, I don't think we are used to that kind of success. That's why we celebrate when a few of us make it. It feels like a big occasion, which it is, which it still is. So I don't think we have reached that level where we've acclimatized to a certain level of success. We still, I think until we get to a point where we're like, of course, I mean, what do you mean?
What do you expect?
What do you, I mean, but now it's still like, yo.
Like excellent.
Yeah, you know, yeah. I think until we get to a point where we are used to it, it's like being on a business class for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, the first time it's like, yeah, no.
I can stretch my legs.
You know,
Yo,
it's like your own personal space.
What's in the those pockets?
Yeah.
In some I think it was it's Emirates.
Yeah.
Where you get like is it a Dior fragrance? No, is it Dior?
No, it's not Dior, but
Bulgari. I think it's
yes.
I think you get a Bulgari,
Yes.
perfume and
Yeah.
oh, this is amazing, But the next time you fly, you're like
Yeah, no. And in fact, the more you fly, the more you realize it's expensive for no reason at all. Once you start getting used to it, then now you start to question. Now you're like, that's it? Do you know how much I paid? So I think until we get to that certain level of space, it's deep psychological stuff where even where we live in proximity, there isn't success at all. So, also the element of why you, not me, comes through. Like, how dare you? Who are you? Until we start, where we are comfortable and where we do well is in the struggle and the poverty pocket. We thrive. We know how to struggle too. I'll even tip you. I'll give you tips on how to struggle.
What you mean, bro? We all want success.
No, but we are well versed in understanding the struggle and pain. That's why I can give you advice. I can say, hey, you must do this, you must do this. Or you don't have food. If you have this and you have this, you can mix it. We know that. But we don't know success, how to build a brand, how to build a successful business, how to raise kids successfully. We don't know those things, so we can't advise on those things. But we know how to do so much with the little that we have. But as soon as we have,
that's why I think it's slowly becoming part of our DNA. Even at a much sort of grander scale or more public spaces, people talk about the resilience of South Africans. We are a resilient nation. We've seen through like you say, struggle is our thing. We forge ahead. Nothing can stop us.
Yeah, no. I think from a biology perspective or from a physiological perspective, it's good to struggle. It strengthens you.
But you can't struggle forever. I mean, at some point, it has to end.
Yeah, so that's where I was getting. Socially, there's a point where we shouldn't find pride in the ability to be resilient. But I do think
soft.
You do need that.
So we need to be soft.
I think that's what we need to strive for, because life is not soft. It's not designed to be soft. Even from a natural perspective, you'll have hailstorms. You'll have what we experience.
Let's go through cycles.
Yes.
Go through all the seasons.
Yes.
Exactly. There's winter where everything just dries up.
Exactly. Which I think we need different seasons also in our lives. You can't struggle forever. That means you can't have winter forever. It's not natural, to be in a struggle phase forever. You need to move. You need to shift. You need to get out of the township. Even if you go back, but you need to that exercise of going out. Even if circumstances change and you move back, you've changed. You've done something. I think we need to strive for different circumstances to build different environments. Yeah.
Sure. Man, obviously, you are a man of many talents. You know, you've built, I think Thinkeneur, it's incredible what you've been able to achieve through it. I mean, the Impact series, which I can't really stop thinking about, and how
I love that.
impactful, the platform is. And obviously, more recently, you made a big announcement. You're all over social media, everyone is talking about it.
Wait.
You're on TV, we saw you on TV, Bogosi, talking about this incredible initiative called the One Human Summit. What is that about?
The One Human Summit. So, there's a principle that I live by, and that's where most things come from, and that's where that's how I'm also able to carry myself, in boardrooms and situations. And my philosophy is it's two things. One is that difference should be a deliberate thing. Striving for difference, it should be a deliberate thing. For me personally, and that comes from the principle of strategy, right? So if your strategy does not push or encourage or ensure a difference in how you do things and approach things, then you don't have a strategy. So from that principle, you have to be different.
Yeah.
So at the back of my mind, I always know that I need to do something that is different. And the other philosophy is, it's this idea that if you wish something was said, say it. If you wish something was done,
Do it.
do it. And from those principles, but sometimes it's not as straightforward as it is, as I articulated, but I think having those principles is important.
Guiding you in the
Guiding
background.
you. Yeah, so obviously I had done events for the longest time, one-on-one interviews, events where we have panels. In fact, I'll tell you where this whole thing started. I actually wanted to do something with Kwesta.
Yeah.
That's where, in fact, the seed of the One Human Summit was planted.
Got you.
I wanted to do something with Kwesta, but
Why Kwesta?
so from a creative perspective, from a storytelling perspective, I think he's a genius in terms of being able. I'll tell you this to demonstrate the power of his ability to tell stories. I hate townships because of their origins and why they exist.
Yeah, but township economy is booming, bro.
Wait, townships were designed for black people to not grow. They were like concentration camps. There were townships, which is why they were never developed. There were townships where black people live, and then you have the suburbs.
Absolutely.
Then north.
Yeah. And if you look at most townships, don't even have trees.
We don't have trees.
You don't have
Dust.
trees. It's just dust.
You know where I come from?
There's
Bramfield,
one.
Dust.
Yeah, there's one way in and one way out.
Correct. So
The streets are narrow, and actually,
Correct.
someone once said it like, even the streets, the way they're so narrow, somehow even psychologically, it has
Yes.
an impact.
exactly.
You're thinking,
Correct. No, absolutely. We used to celebrate having tar road. We used to it was a big moment when our street now has a skontir.
yeah,
It was a big thing. It was a big moment where you see, hey, it's the other street. Hey, when they are coming, hey, maybe they'll come next week to our street. It was a thing.
Yeah.
So they were not designed. So for that purpose, I hate townships. We shouldn't be in townships.
Yeah.
This is why I'm going off track, but this is why I think apartheid was such a genius strategy in that even today it permeates. What they intended to do, it's still there. They had a long-term strategy, which is what I think we lack in our democracy. What is our long-term strategy?
Yeah.
A lot of people refer to, through the Impact series, a lot of people refer to the NDP. For me, that's not even a strategy.
NDP.
There's no strategy in the
It was
NDP.
for what? The 2030?
2030
Now I'm sure they're going to say 2040.
or 60. For me, there's no strategy. It's just tactics and goals that we need to do this, which is why I say we don't have a progressive mindset where we're saying, how do you aim for reducing poverty? You don't aim for reducing poverty. That's a result of the things that you do. So you aim to do something.
It's a byproduct.
It's a byproduct. But our thing are centered around fixing this, fixing that. I don't see any growth strategy ideas. But anyways, you know, the townships were for that reason, I don't like townships. You know, there's nothing, there's no growth, there's no prospect, there's nothing. But when I listen to
But
Kwesta-
Panyaza will disagree with you. Say the township is where it's at.
Why?
You know.
Yeah, they have to,
what do you think? So, what do you have to say to people that talk about, like, for lack of a better word, glorify like the township economy? You know, there's even a term to say, the township economy is booming. The township, it's where it's at, and.
Let me tell you I don't think it's something I plan to talk about.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you. My son was in grade 2. Was in grade 2 this year. Struggling. Term 1, term 2. You know when I say struggling?
Yeah.
Fail this, assignment, test.
Yeah.
Dismal, failing, terrible. And then end of third term and fourth term, I stepped in. We worked. I worked him like
a horse.
Like a horse. I worked him.
Yeah.
You know, we did a whole late nights. And this is not to punish him, because I'm also conscious of, you know, there are other things outside of education.
Yeah.
You know, but there are principles that I need to teach him. So next year, he's going to grade 3.
Yeah.
But he didn't pass. He got condoned to grade 3. That's not something you are proud of, you speak about.
Yeah.
But he went to grade 3. He's going to grade 3. He got condoned. My conversation with him is that, well done for doing great in term 4. He worked hard. He showed effort in grade 4. Practice.
I mean, in quarter 4.
Yeah. Sorry, in quarter 4.
Yeah.
In term 4, he worked hard. So my conversation with him is, you worked hard, well done, but you got condoned, meaning you didn't fully. So my conversation, you don't fully deserve
to be moved to the next grade.
But it's been a process where we're engaging with the teachers along. So even the condoning is based on his effort in the latter part of term 3 and quarter 4. So my conversation with him is what I refer to as a wholesome conversation, where you address the difficulties, but then you congratulate the good parts. So for me, when we over-exaggerate the good things, we lose sight of what we need to work on. So my son knows, if you ask him now, and you say, what do you need to do to pass grade 3?
Yeah.
He will tell you, I need to work hard, study hard, and do my best. He knows those things.
Yeah.
So what we are missing is that conversation. So yes, township is, but what is booming? It's relative. What is booming in the context of the globe? You know, it's also like, where is our standards? You know, in the context of bigger things and things outside of the township, is that growth? Show me tangibly the growth of the town. What is the growth of the township? People use different metrics. For me, if you build 4 malls and then you say, oh no, 3 years ago there were no malls, we built 4. But what are those malls doing? They're extracting. They're not building.
Money is leaving.
Exactly. So our kids, where do they do recreational stuff? Where do they swim? Where do they play basketball? Where is their characters being built? What is booming? What is growth? You know?
I mean, if you look in some, even in some, actually, you know where I grew up? So there's, by Soweto standards, it's not really a township.
Okay.
But it's you know, there was a stadium where we used to obviously do like athletics, and obviously, you know, those that play soccer would play soccer there. And you know, I was surprised the other day when I went home. I mean, that stadium has no roof. It's dilapidated. You know? And Yeah, and Bruce Whitfield in his book, The Upside of Down, talks about obviously how also on the other end things have changed, have improved. So you've got a stadium where people used to, kids, whether there was a tournament or anything of that sort, would participate and be active,
Yeah.
do sports, play different sporting codes. And
Yeah.
now this thing has no roof. Actually, what do they call it? Amapara are helping themselves with parts of the infrastructure and an end. But on one end, there were parts where there was no tar road. Now there's a tar road.
How does that help anyone in the grand scheme of things?
Which one?
The tar road.
A movement of goods in and out.
Also, that they can extract more money from
I don't know, but
what, would you rather have a tar road with a school or a hall that doesn't have a roof, or still be gravel and have a place where kids can learn, grow,
and develop?
What would you rather have? So I think it depends on who you ask.
But it does, when I'm wearing my...
you see, you're worried about the wrong things.
When I'm wearing my Cavella, it's gonna,
You're worried about the wrong... That's the problem. That's the problem. And I think that's where we jump to, things that make us feel good in the, the mess, so to speak. That's why you find people they wear the most beautiful, expensive clothes, but where they come from is not reflective of how they look when they're outside. There's no alignment, or there's a difference.
And how they relate to other people.
Yeah, and then people make a joke. It's like when you go out there, you don't go to the street with your couch or it's your car. You need to have I don't think from a township perspective, for me, you can have the average basketball player mentality, or you can have the Kobe mentality, where it's not enough. It's not enough just to play ball. You have to be the first one in and the last one out. And if we take that mentality and say, how do we grow? What do we need to do? What are the things that we physically need to do? So for me, even this idea of creating jobs, why are we creating jobs? For what?
So people can work
for
and
what?
Become economically active and contribute to the fiscus.
Who's fiscus? Why?
The country's fiscus.
So I think that's what people say, that's the narrative. But truly, genuinely, why? Why do we, and I think that goes back to that principle of philosophy of questioning things, Why is this thing the way it is? There's a quote by Steve Jobs, which I think is beautiful. He says, the world around us, as we know it, as we experience it, was designed by people who are no smarter than us, meaning we can change it.
Gotcha.
So we shouldn't accept that this is how things, job creation. Again, similarly to reducing poverty, job creation is a byproduct of doing something. That's why you find people go look for jobs, they are not fulfilled, and then when they start doing the thing that they're passionate about, they become a different being.
Excellent,
They become somebody different,
Yeah, so you're just narrating the story. Obviously, we deviated with the One Human Summit. Then obviously you wanting to work with.
Wanting to
Kwesta.
work with
Kwesta. I don't remember how we even got to the township.
So how we got to the township was that, with all of that said, when I listen to Kwesta rap about the township, I fall in love with the township. So his ability to make that thing, the picture that I've just painted, into something beautiful through wordplay, creativity, the things he talks about, like the things, I don't remember which song it was, where he's like, you wake up, I think it's like, vuka ngekota, ekasi, go to the suburb, you eat sushi and come back, just painting that picture of the lifestyle of a township person, how, for me, the way he understands township is how I wish people in advertising, creative people, understood the township. When you speak about a black person and the archetype of what a black person is, there's so much depth, there's so much breadth, there's so many layers. We are not just one thing. So when I listen to him, I'm like, actually, we could learn something from Kwesta. And the thing that I wanted to do with him was, the topic idea was around the way Kwesta does his music is how we should be doing advertising. But when I started to think about how this thing looks like, I was like, okay, there's Kwesta. Then I fell into the trap of, okay, I need a panel. I need 3 other people. But every time I was like, who could be with Kwesta? It never felt right. There was something about it where, like, even if there are 3 people with Kwesta, I need the attention to be on him. So with a panel, for example, basic maths is that if you've got a 40-minute panel with 4 people, on average, each person should speak for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need all the attention to be on him. I need him to be the focal point. Then I started playing with, what does this look like? But each time I reverted to a panel. What I was trying to solve for was, how does it still become a Kwesta thing? Even though they are people. And then one day I was in the shower. That was the happiest day of my life. After
you taking a shower.
Sometimes we hear things and then it's like, no, people are just saying that, whether like, the best ideas
The aha
moment. Like literally, as I was playing around, I had different variations of names. It was like the Thinkeneur strategy, thing something. It was something. There were different things. And then, like, the way you receive your Uber delivery, the name just came, like literally.
Human Summit.
The name hit me like, it was like one human. That day, I did nothing else. I was just crazy thinking about this name.
Sure.
I was like...
So, is Kwesta going to be the one human summit, huh?
What I can tell you is there are...
Did you just give out some scoop on the patonbrands podcast?
No.
Is this an exclusive? Look into the camera and tell South Africa who's the one human summiter that will be...
The person who's going to be on the One Human Summit will be announced next year. So there are a number of names there.
But what kind of a person deserves to be a summiter or to be to have the spotlight on, for a full day?
For a full day. So
is there a set criteria that you look at?
Since I've started to build my own things, what I've started to do is to break certain things. Like having a criteria. We don't have a criteria. We will design the criteria when the time comes. But there are principles that we apply that help us select an individual. Sometimes the person is obvious. If you mention the name, people will be like, that's it. Sometimes the person will not be so obvious. Then we will need to build a narrative around the individual to say, this is why this person is the summiter. But the key principles around selecting the individual is that, firstly, one, this person has to be a person of progressive impact. This person has to do work or sometimes it's obvious, even the impact might be obvious, sometimes it isn't. We'd have to package it for the audience to understand it. But there will have to be somebody of profound impact. There would have to be progressive.
There has to be a Pat.
When you mention that, is that so you can't apply to be a one human summiter.
Yeah.
You don't apply. We choose you, and you will
say we. It's Bogosi and who?
The people that I work with.
Okay. Should the person be a South African or it can be anyone globally?
So the platform is not South African. Born out of South Africa, but it's a global platform. So it could literally be anyone. And what's great about it is that it has the potential to be a traveling platform where I might still be here in South Africa, but it could be executed in the US, in the UK, in Indonesia, wherever. So the idea is that each country has their own one human summiters. Therefore, it can be executed wherever across the continent.
Is it gonna be like, I'm reminded of, I'm not sure if you remember that property, CEO Sleep Out. Where you had Johannesburg, Sydney, you get CEOs.
Okay.
And it was all in the name, obviously, of charity and all of that.
Yeah. So in principle, yes, it's a global platform that can be licensed to different parts of the world. So in that instance,
like a TED Talk.
Yeah, like a TED Talk, but I don't
TEDx,
want it.
Is it? Yeah, TEDx.
Yeah, it's TEDx.
Yeah.
I don't want. So I get that a lot also, in fact, where people are like, is it like a TED?
Comparing it.
So what I will say is there's nothing like it.
Yes, when.
And that's the message I need to communicate. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's different. So
what makes it different? Because it's one man receiving all the attention in one day.
That's the first part. That's the first and important part. So with TED, so what happens is we look at the YouTube videos and we see one person presenting. But if you go to the conference, it's a series of presentations. Yeah. So it's not like it. And this is not to say TED is terrible or whatever. No, it's just different. Yeah, and TED is like a premium brand. It's a premium brand of, that's power. The people that go to TED, if we can achieve that level of, attraction and demand from those kinds of people, it would be amazing. But here, so in fact, there's a guy I met at a conference. So they were doing a presentation, right? I thought it was the most amazing presentation. Incredible. I was blown away, right? And obviously throughout the day, there'd been other presentations. There'd been things happening. And then I spoke to him. I was like, hey, I know. You're killing it.
Yeah, so this guy did a stellar presentation.
So this guy did a stellar presentation. So he delivered impeccable presentation.
Yeah.
So I go up to this person and I'm like, hey, that was incredible, amazing. I loved it. This and this and this and this. So I'm giving him all the compliments.
Yeah. All the flowers.
All the flowers. And then he was like, hey, that was just 10% of the work that I do.
Hectic.
What?
Yeah.
10? Wait, whoa. I saw what you presented.
Yeah.
I saw everything. I was overwhelmed. I was like, that's just 10%.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, unfortunately, that's how conferences and summits are set up, where you have 30 minutes to talk about this. So there are people there who've got great ideas, are doing phenomenal things, but they only have 30 minutes to do a thing.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, you know what? There's actually room for this kind of platform where you have one person, you give them all the time, you give them all the opportunity to do the keynotes, to do the presentations, to do the interviews, to do everything. With the one person that you identify from the group of people where, even if you go to a conference, you resonate with one person, even out of a panel. You're like, hey, this person is amazing. Yeah. But unfortunately, they have to fit in within the mold.
Of course, of that particular programming.
Yes, of that. And I'm glad you said that. It is programming.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's a commodity thing where we have so many speakers. We have to, conferences run against time. Where we are different is that we give you all the time. You can do your keynote. Where it gets interesting is that you can actually bring in people who are not necessarily allowed or invited in traditional conferences. If you say, my mother played a critical role, we'll have a session for you where it's just you and your mother having a conversation.
Sure.
Those are the conversation bit.
If you say, I had a mentor.
If you had a mentor.
Yeah, and this mentor changed my life, then there will be a moment.
There'll be a moment.
So you go above and beyond to bring the mentor.
Correct. So it's about the one human and what led to
the greatness that
they have. So you have that section where it's the conversation, it's a thing, and then the other part is the activation and bringing to life some of your work.
Yeah.
So if you did something, let's say, for example, 8 years ago, there was a business that you ran. Let's say a mobile hair salon. That was a game changer for you. So what we do, part of the experience, is to recreate that thing where people can actually interact and engage with your work. So anything that was significant in your life, we're able to bring it to life and manifest it for people to engage with it. So we will actually see, touch, smell, taste your work. We will be immersed in your world. So we have these three things that help us describe what this thing is about. So the essence of the One Human Summit is to discover the extraordinary in humans through an inspiring, immersive, and transformative experience. So we say it's not just about the thinking. Most conferences, people present the thinking.
Got you.
With the One Human Summit, you are not only engaging with the thinking, but the thinking behind the thinking. So you are able to see the back end. You know, when you speak about a video where you say they gave the game, you're going to get game. You're going to get the back end, the raw stuff, the thing that actually is the thing that makes what then becomes obvious to other people happen.
Got you.
You're going to get the back end of it. So the idea is that how it should feel at an individual level, it should feel like a one-on-one coffee meeting with that person. Gotcha. At traditional conferences, if you're lucky, you will stand in line after they've done a presentation, they get off stage, you stand in line, they're greeting. By the time they get to you, they're tired. And they're ready to leave.
Stop dissing traditional conferences, please. They're not that bad.
They've got their place.
Of course.
They've got their place. It's not to diss them, but there are gaps in there, and without a diss.
But this one is just about this summiter, this one extraordinary human being.
Correct.
That has, climbed the mountain.
Correct.
And has summited.
Correct.
And is accomplished, and is a person of interest.
Is a person of interest.
Yeah.
But
who would you like to see on this platform? Say, all things equal, you've got unlimited budget, and you have to bring in this person. Who?
It's a personal one.
Put it in the universe. You never know. Maybe I can do it for free. Okay.
I'll buy into that.
Yeah.
The person, all doors open, all access, all things being equal.
Yeah.
Is Weezy.
Weezy, Lil Wayne.
It's Lil Wayne.
Why Lil Wayne?
Yamula. So, apart from the obvious stuff, so I think that comes from the passion I have for music. Mm-hmm. So the One Human Summit is...
So I see a common thread. South Africa, Kwesta, Lil Wayne, rap.
Actually, my boy and I just did a promo where we are singing, but you'll see it.
Yeah.
So it's Weezy. For when my brother passed away, there was nothing you could tell me. Nothing made sense. There was absolutely nothing. And people come and people say things because they think they need to say them. one of those things is, it's God's will. The other thing is, oba monna ya no.
Sure.
I was like, what? So if me being a man, for me to be a man requires for my brother to pass away, I think I was fine being a boy. So none of the things that people were saying made sense. There was a point where I was depressed. Church music was depressing. People would come and sing. I couldn't hear those things.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine gave me a CD, MP3, back in the day where you had an MP3 CD. It's like a CD with 50 songs, That mixtape, that CD, was a Lil Wayne MP3.
Which one? Carter 4? Huh?
It had everything.
Yeah.
It had his mixtapes. It had, the Carter 3 hadn't come out. I think the Carter 2 was out. It had Carter 1, Carter 2, all his mixtapes. At that time when nobody could tell me anything, I couldn't hear anything, he spoke to me.
Wow.
That,
Was it Lollipop?
No, that was Carter 3. It was music from his mixtape days where he was saying things, he was rapping hip-hop in ways that I had never heard before.
Wow. So now you're going to make me want to go look for
He's
Carter 1 and 2.
I think his best work is actually in the mixtape game. His best work is in mixtapes. His rhyme scheme, the way he was saying things. And I loved his strategy where he would take an existing beat and then just rap over it. And when he rapped over it, it was better than the original. So he killed everyone. But also, the work he put in the mixtape, it was like, hey, when you hear the lyrics, it's like, hey, maybe he should have saved these things for himself. But he was so talented, so gifted that he would out-rap anyone and everyone. And this is apart from him being an influence, creating a whole new generation. Anybody you can think of was influenced by Wayne. Kendrick Lamar, who was here.
Yeah.
I
I was with him last week. Just chilling.
Love it.
Just couldn't take pictures.
You see what that you don't share of only one. Anyways, he dedicated a whole album to Weezy. Everybody who's so I think his influence, his ability to rap and say things in interesting ways that are funny. So if you listen to Weezy, you actually realize that he's a funny rapper.
Sure. So that's the guy you want.
That's the guy.
Summertime.
Yeah, I think if we get Weezy, then it'll be a rap. Pun intended. I'm kidding. So obviously we'll continue doing, but I think for me that's a personal thing where I'm like, imagine walking through the journey of Weezy and his influence, being able to understand his lyricism. It's just. So I've always had a fascination with rappers in that.
Have you ever seen him perform live anywhere?
When he came to South Africa. At that time, Rick Ross and Drake were opening acts.
Hectic.
Weezy was Weezy. You couldn't touch Weezy. And funny enough, it was a competition by Southgate Mall. I think we needed to, share something. It was on Facebook. Facebook was popping then. It was the biggest social media platform. I think they were trying to promote the mall. And then I won tickets and I went to see Weezy. I was, hey man.
Wow.
It was at the Dome. It was, he filled it up. That was, I think him, obviously there are other people, but I think if we get Weezy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but you say if you get Weezy, you close it. Then maybe let's have two before we close it.
I think, as I'm journeying on my, I think other people are obvious. And that's the great thing about the platform. There are obvious people and there are people who are not so obvious, but they should be there or they can be there. I think I would do one for for my father, who's been a great influence. And I can see the difference between my relationship with my father and my son's relationship with me. He talks. He's open. He talks about stuff.
Your son.
Yeah, my son. He talks about stuff. My dad and I never had that relationship. I think we started hugging 3 years ago.
Hexy. COVID. COVID, you had already hugged. When they say social distance, you guys were busy hugging.
But as I'm growing, I realize his influence and his power. As I'm getting older and as he's getting older. So I think I would do something for him. So, for example, with my son, which is something that I've never done. The other time he comes to me and he says, you know what? You were right. I was like, what? When I speak about my father, when I speak about other people, I'll say, hey, my father was right. But I've never told him that, on this thing, you were right. And the thing that he was talking about that I was right was, so I always try to teach him, make him see things, in a way. I had told him that, you know what? So he prefers to watch TV than do his work or whatever. Yeah. So I tell him, there's time to do everything. You will do everything. You can do your homework, go swim, go play, come back, watch TV, eat your cornflakes. You can do anything and everything. Well, not anything. You can do everything in a day. I think there was a day where he experienced himself doing everything. And that's when he came. He was like, you know what?
You were right.
You were right. I was like, why? And then he's like, yeah, you were right. You remember when you said you can do everything? I did everything. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Which is also gave me insight into that, he's listening, he's hearing. So I think it would be my dad. I think even when my brother passed away, he was there. He's the one who encouraged me to continue to live. And he always had, so English is not his thing. I think for our parents, English is not a thing. But growing up, he used to say, no matter what, remember these 3 words: assertive, aggressive, submissive. You must know these 3 things. 1, assertive. You must always be assertive in life. Aggressive, you should never be aggressive, especially in the house. Submissive, so he always had these things that similar to him, where I was hearing them, but when he was saying them, I was like, whatever. As I go through life, as I do these things, I think then the summit would be a way to say thank you and I understand. There were things that I wished he had done, which I think this links to why I don't like townships, because he moves from the township to go to work, 4 hours on the road. You don't spend time with your father. And our parents worked on weekends. Yep. When we had activities at school over the weekends, he can't come because he has to go to work. Or we are not making enough. We don't have a car. It's a schlep to go, from with this taxi to this taxi to. And it's like, and then the schools are like, come with this, come with chair bags, camp chairs, come with. And then they're like, we'll see. So I think there are many people, but I think that would be an incredible one to do, to say thank you. So he might not have significant or obvious things to show to the rest of the world, but I think it would be maybe even at a small scale, just to say thank you, I appreciate you, I hear you and I understand. It wasn't you.
You were right.
You were right. That's the theme.
Got you. Okay, cool, man. Obviously, to execute something like this, I don't think it's cheap at all. I don't think it's easy at all. So how are you going to finance this thing?
So, 2 things. 1, sponsors, brand partners. So you know how I see this thing? I see it as a startup in the sense of Silicon Valley startup. That's how I like to think about it. Not small business, you know.
Yeah. Here's a property that has a potential
Yeah.
to go global.
to go global.
That's
So-
scalable.
That's scalable. So I see it as a startup. So partners, investors can do it. The second part,
What kind of a sponsor? You know, you don't have to be specific with the brand name, but
yeah.
what industry do you see your ideal sponsor coming from?
So I don't think there's an industry that doesn't exist where, you know, I think it may come from financial services, because part of the One Human Summit, as much as it is about this one individual, I think it's also relatable and should resonate with everyday people. I think people should see themselves in the One Human Summiter. Therefore, it's brands that are targeted at everyday people. So financial services, it can be FMCG, it can be automotive, whatever the case may be. It's those brands that exist where everyday people are. But it's not just, you know, it has to be strategically aligned. It has to make sense at a narrative perspective as well. So how those brands are positioned is going to be important in building the story together. So I don't want it to be a force fit where you're bringing in the money, but it doesn't make sense.
Gotcha.
So it has to make sense at all levels. And maybe if it makes, it should make more sense at the money level too. That'd
be great.
You know, when the rubber hits the road, you need money.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the second model?
The second model, which is how we've been able to build this thing. This is, you know, when I say we, you know, it's just me, but it isn't. The we is the people who want to come on board, who want to help.
Opinions, expertise.
But apart from expertise, I think people who are just interested and passionate about doing this thing, who want to make this thing happen. So everything that you see, the website, the posters, the announcement, the logo, zero money, zero funding, but 100% magic.
Nice, love it.
When
And
I see,
look,
I refer to the One Human Summit as a miracle. If you think about it logically, technically, this thing should not exist based on what is required to do all of those things. To do a website, to design a logo.
you need funding, you need money to pay for these things.
Let me tell you the logo. I had briefed a designer, but then they got busy, which I understand because I didn't have money.
Of
It
course,
was-
put your brief aside.
Yeah, it was- But I don't think it was in that tone. but the reality is they couldn't do it, right? And then I had briefed another designer, and then timing was not on their side in terms of the time they would need to create the logo. The person who designed the logo, so there was a brief, a written brief document, 3-4 pages, typical brief, right? But then I had this conversation with this guy, Ayanda. You know Ayanda?
Ayanda who?
Filita.
Maybe Gahomon.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
We were just having a conversation. Like we were just talking. Hey, what are you doing, man? Hey, I'm working on this thing. So at that time, I didn't have money. And then I was like, I got an idea. I was like, you know, in brand building, there's a principle that says a brand is not a logo. You know that thing? But I know.
No, it's a feeling. It's everything that
Yes.
comes with it.
I'm glad you added that. It's a feeling. It's all of these. I was like, you know what? If a brand is not a logo, I'm going to go to market with a brand. Go to market with... So I could literally type One Human Summit using Arial font. And I said, this is the One Human Summit. What I wanted people to buy into is the thinking
Of course.
around it. So I'm telling Ayand, I'm like, hey, man, I can't afford to pay anybody to do the logo. So I'm going to challenge the principle of a brand is not a logo. I'm going to go to market with One Human Summit on a Word document, Calibri, you know,
And
black.
Arial as a header.
That was
Bold.
going to be. So we go our separate ways. 3 days later, I get an email. Hey man, hope that you're good. Ish, the designer in me couldn't get this thing out of my head. I like your idea of going to market without a logo because a brand is not a logo. But use it, don't use it. Here's a logo. I tell you, what you see is what he presented. I didn't want to give feedback.
No rivet.
We were just having a conversation. There was no brief. There was nothing to refer to say, okay, he said the logo must. We were just having.
Yeah. And
So-
I hope Tabang will put it up on the screen, the logo, so that people can see.
Please put the logo up there.
Yeah.
So even it was the most basic. When I say basic, I'm not diminishing it, but the simplicity in the thinking and the approach.
It's like the swoosh, man.
Ah, man.
You know how the swoosh just changed the game?
I'm telling you. So that's the second model. And that model, I don't think I'll ever be able to replicate it. I think it was for this moment, for this brand,
And where it is.
where it is. So obviously, I think we are going to be able to attract partners, sponsors, make money, pay people. But I think it needed that moment.
Yeah, and I think, there's lots of learnings, from what you just said. I think even how my platform, patonbrands, sort of started. I didn't have money for a website, I didn't have money for a logo, and I think the first logo for patonbrands was designed by my ex-classmate at varsity.
The original, I think I see it. I've
The
seen
one
it.
that had it was done by Koki Torisane,
Dope.
and who did it for me for free. The first website, it was done by, actually he did it as well.
Oh, dope.
Koki Torisane, then it was Frank, then it was the other guy, then eventually, I could pay someone to enhance and
Dope.
and
I think,
But,
that's dope.
for most parts, people obviously are held up by, not starting because they don't have the resources.
Correct.
They don't have money to pay someone to design a logo.
Correct.
They don't have money to pay someone to design a website or anything else that they would need to get started.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I've learned that also people, when you have a clear vision, or not even a clear vision, but when you just have a vision, somehow people extend a helping hand.
Correct.
And obviously, for most parts, and in the beginning, I guess that's what you need.
Absolutely.
That basic logo. It doesn't have to be the most modern. It doesn't have to be the
Correct.
most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
And that you can build from.
100%.
And I mean, just you spoke about Kendrick Lamar that was here last weekend. Obviously, I was at Hey Neighbour, and I was there.
People with connections. You must bring me sponsors. You can.
So I was there. Obviously, I had a VIP ticket, with my friend or whatever, and I mean, the experience, I won't lie, it wasn't VIP at all.
Okay. That's keys.
Number one, they said ticket said to go to VIP parking. You get there, say VIP parking is full, so it's just to find parking.
How does VIP parking get full?
Exactly.
It's not-
Then they say, okay, there's a VIP entrance. You go there. It's also packed. I think
it's packed. It's full. Those
think-
are not
yeah.
words that you
Yeah.
associate with VIP.
VIP, of course. We stood in the queue for an hour, just to get in. And it's not like it was an hour because we're 200 meters away. It's just standing here, but I guess it was the system and because it's in the farms,
Okay.
so the network might have not been great and whatever. Then you walk in. Then
Sounds like a very interrupted process.
yeah, and obviously expectations very low. Then you wanna get food. Like my friend's wife, like literally stood in the hour for in the queue for like 3 hours just to get food. Yeah, so obviously, the experience wasn't the best, right? But at the same time, as someone who's also in the event space, who puts together an event,
You understand?
not only understand, but I could just put myself in the organizer's shoes. That at that very point, given the amount of challenges and stress and sponsors not coming through, or people not making promises, like for example, at the gate, it wasn't entirely, they are doing, let me say not his, because not one individual, but they are doing because they had outsourced a supplier, that was supposed to handle the ticketing and make sure that everything runs smoothly. You can just, scan with ease and boom, people are in. So it wasn't it wasn't their doing, right? I couldn't help even right there and then to just think about the team, the amount of pressure and stress. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't matter what Pat thinks at that very point.
Who is Pat?
Who is Pat? It doesn't matter what Pat thinks. The vision came to life. I have...
Pause.
I have...
Pause. Wait.
Yeah.
Drops mic.
Pat.
I know.
I have massive respect.
They did it.
To those guys who put together Hey Neighbour. It's I was there, Joe. I saw the size of the main stage. It was massive. I saw people moving up and down. I heard accents that went really, one would say very familiar. I saw brands also, showing up and activating in a manner that I haven't seen before. And I was like, it doesn't matter. The long queues. It doesn't matter that, yes, it took long to get the food.
Come on now.
But someone has set a standard here.
Yes.
Someone that looks like I has set a standard. I mean, we can argue how many people that look like you and me on this podcast have put together events of that magnitude.
Preach now.
If you look at I was just thinking about the logistics, because all they had there was land, just plain land.
It was nothing,
and they had to set up the infrastructure. Even from the road, they had to get a caterpillar and just create the road. That people obviously, some people say it took long for them to come out, but that was the only thing for us that was smooth. Coming out, it was, I mean, it was easy. But, the tiniest things that an ordinary Joe that wouldn't even think about. Toilets, lighting, power. And that time we have 3-4 stages. You know what I mean? It was humongous. And on the other hand, you still have people camping. I mean, it's just you can't help but just sympathize and just be inspired by the sheer audacity and the dream that the team that put that thing together.
Come on now.
And you just have to respect. And I know it's easy, and someone might even take the clip where I said
the long queues,
and everything in between, and
the clinic,
and take it as Pat is bashing.
But they have to watch the whole clip. Yeah.
But they have to get the context to say, and that's why even and you're asking where am I getting with this? Is just around obviously with you with this one human summit. That it's when you have, it seems illogical. If you look at what Hey Neighbour has done, and that's why I say, I always say this, like, we are taught to think logically about things.
Correct.
But if we followed logic, nothing great human beings would have ever achieved.
Correct.
Because it made no sense.
Correct.
That you just find a plain farm somewhere east of Pretoria.
Yeah.
That has nothing, zero infrastructure. There's only one road that connects you to the highway, and you gonna set up an entire. It was like a city, so to speak, because you have people sleeping there. You've got people moving up and down. You've got all these things happening, and it happened, and you brought like international acts. That on its own, imagine the amount of resources that this man needed. Someone was telling me that one of the artists wanted like $2 million. And flew with 60, with an entourage of 60 people, all business class.
Damn.
You get my point?
Damn.
So,
Damn.
the amount of resources that the thing needed, you can just sympathize and say, okay, cool. There were bigger problems
I'm telling you.
that one had to worry about.
I love that.
And as people that we're in events and yes, is there room to do better?
Of course, always.
100%. But did he set the standard?
Oof.
Yes. Did he inspire me? Yes. You just look at, man, you just had to be there also to believe.
Agreed.
And
appreciate.
And appreciate, that, here, because this thing, at some point, it was just a dream. It was just an idea.
Come on now.
they were just chilling somewhere. And like, I've got this thing. We're going to call it Hey Neighbour. And we're just going to bring, some of the biggest international acts, at a farm somewhere in South Africa. And, we're going to attract thousands of people, and it's just going to be good times and good vibes. Okay. Then someone says, okay, I think we can do it. How can we go about doing it? I don't know. Right now we are broke. But let's put together something on paper. Let's knock on the brands. Because when Hey Neighbour started advertising, I think it was when, obviously, the Yo was, it was in that period. And I could imagine the amount of stress that I went through. And I just thought about them, like, because they had no sponsors then, and they were bringing these big names. You know what I mean? And you're sitting there, you're thinking, like, yo, and the sponsors, most of them started coming in, I think, the last 2 months before. And shout out to the brands that saw the vision. I mean,
Yes.
Heineken, being the headliner and stuff, and all the other brands that sort of came on board. A huge pat on them because,
Dope.
they helped a group of people to realize a dream. And sometimes when people, and like I say, it makes no logical sense. It made no logical sense. Now everybody, hey, next year he must call us. Next year I want my brand there. I can tell you for free. There are marketers and brand managers that are pinching themselves, saying next year
have we missed out?
We missed out. Our brand needs to be there. Oh, we didn't think it was going to happen, and
Jesus.
and sometimes obviously as like even with you. With this One Human Summit, it's a new concept, never done before. To some, it makes no logical sense. That how can it be that an entire day sort of could be dedicated to just one human being? Whereas we can have a lineup of 10, 100, speakers. It makes no logical sense. But some have to see to believe. And sometimes people just have to. If you're sitting in those positions and when you get a proposal, as a marketer, you just need to think beyond what you know or what you've seen. Because that could be another, lever that will shift your brand and align it to some of the best things in this world. So, I mean, I wish you all the best, man. I know it's not going to be an easy one, you know, but, you know, you have our supporters. Patonbrands are going to post about it. You know?
Amazing.
But the thing is, that's what we need. We need visionaries, you know, to back these unconventional ideas. You know, even with the Yobas, you know, it made no sense for most parts. You know, to have this kind of a thing, it made no sense to take it to the Sentin Convention Center and whatever. But I tell you, after we did it, I know of 2 other events that never thought they could host an event at the Sentin Convention Center, and they went there.
They were inspired.
Because one that looks like them
did it. Amazing.
You know?
That's powerful.
And that's what it takes.
That's powerful.
And that's what it takes.
That's powerful.
We need, you know, to back ideas that are unconventional by our people. Because otherwise, we're going to be in the corners in those WhatsApp group complaining. You know, complaining. You know? And say, why are we not invited to these events? Why is there no sponsorship for our properties? But the first time when an opportunity presents itself, people are not coming to the fore. So, Bogosi, how do people get to participate, and if they want to get in touch with you and want to back this grand vision that is the One Human Summit?
Amazing. Damn. I'm so inspired by what you've just said. You know, I think it's powerful. That's a great testimonial for Hey Neighbour. Yeah. And I think if we apply that mindset to everything, you know, where you are building, you know, and saying, yes, it didn't work out, but when you have the context and understand what it takes to pull these things together.
I wonder if there was a word counter of how many F-bombs were dropped. Actually, in that week, it's probably in the billions.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. So for us, and thank you for, you know, wishing us the best and good luck. I think we're going to need it. So how people can get in touch is to, you know, contact me directly.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I try to go on Facebook, not as much, but, you know, I'll eventually see the DM. And Twitter. And then on my personal platforms, and then on the One Human Summit platforms. One Human Summit everywhere, on all platforms. Yeah. And then via our email, which is human@onehumansummit.com.
Yeah.
That's
and
how
it's not going to be AI replying to that email. It will be an actual human.
Yeah. Most times it will be me.
Gotcha.
You know, because we're still building teams. You know, in the beginning, it's always you.
Absolutely.
You know, doing everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what you were saying. It's has kind of become my principle. You know, I see. You know. Earlier we were talking about the title of CEO. And what it means to be CEO. I've now started to refer to my role as FTO. F for fingers. FTO, which is figuring things out. Meaning, this is me saying I don't know anything. So even with the One Human Summit, the assumption is that you have the idea, therefore you know, and I don't. You know, and the people that are on board, it's people that I'm actually begging for them to say, let's do this, let's do that. What if we did that? So I'm figuring it out, but what helps is the vision.
Gotcha.
You know, that becomes the guiding light to say, okay, we can do this. And our approach is to unlearn and do things differently, deliberately. You know, and I like that story about Hey Neighbour because for me, it allows for mistakes. And I think what you're talking about is focusing on the main thing. The main thing is that thing was spectacular.
It was.
Kendrick came.
Absolutely.
He performed.
Yes, it did.
That was the main thing. So the main thing
And
happened. You know?
also, believe me, there are people who had a good time.
Correct.
You know, and
Correct.
someone was just saying, look, on Friday it was better because I went on the Saturday.
Okay.
Right? And understandably so. Also, as they were doing it for the first time, probably they didn't anticipate, that many people.
Correct.
On the Saturday.
Correct.
But it happened.
It happened.
People had a good time. Will I go again? Absolutely.
Amazing.
And the thing is with South Africa is that for most parts, when people fail, we rejoice. Fail. It's almost like and also like very unforgiving. I am yet to meet a successful businessman or woman who's never failed in anything, in any of their journeys, who from the first, they're 50 years old today, they built a successful business, their first business was a hit, made millions and sustained it throughout until never. They fail.
Yeah, and yet we expect people not to fail.
We expect people not to, not to fail, I mean, I had a sponsor, we had a meeting. I mean, after obviously the Yobas, we had a meeting, debrief, they expressed the stuff that they were
unhappy
about.
Unhappy.
Yeah, unhappy. Okay. Yeah, man. So, Bogosi, we have a tradition here at the top 60. I mean, at the at the patonbrands podcast, before our guests leave.
Yeah.
We do a bit of something fun.
Like a quick fire.
The patonbrands quiz.
Okay.
We're gonna test your knowledge.
Some friends we have. You didn't even give me a heads up.
How well you know your brands. 5 questions.
Okay.
If you get it one right, you get a pat. If you get it wrong, you get a slap. Yeah, even your son is laughing at you.
I'm sure he'd be happy for me to get a slap.
Yeah. Which shoe brand partnered up with Bonang Mateba this year? Is it Balenciaga, Christian Louboutin, or Steve Madden?
I'm gonna go with Steve.
You get a pat. That's a good guess. Get a pat.
Sorry for you.
Yes. Which online fashion retail store is under the Take a Lot umbrella? Is it Shein? Is it Superbalist? Or is it Amazon?
Superbalist.
Are you good at guessing?
It can't be Shein. It definitely can't be Shein. It definitely cannot be Amazon.
Okay. Which township is Deliverika Speed from? Mamelodi, Hammanskraal, or Tembisa?
I think you were trying to make it tricky by saying Mamelodi or Hammanskraal. So I'm gonna think it's between those two. And I'm gonna take a wild guess. Hamanskral?
Yo, you get a pat. 3 out of 5. Let's go. Let's see. Okay. Who is the founder of Nike?
Phil Knight.
Ah. Okay. Get a pet. Last question. Who is the founder of Hermosa Flow? Yeah.
Is that even a brand? I'm kidding.
Ah. It was the top beauty brand at the top 16 Town Brands Awards 2022. Beautiful, stunning brand. Hermosa Flow. Is it Muhle Dalane, Bali, Sibabu, or Dr. Lungile Mhlongo?
I don't know if when you said beautiful, stunning brand was a clue to Muhle. Or Doctor sounds like a good name.
Wow.
So between those two, I'm gonna take a wild one and say the doctor.
Get a slap. 4 out of 5.
Why are you happy for the slap?
Yeah. Even your son is bowing down and says, yes, you got it wrong. Thank you for being a good sport.
Pleasure.
Any last words? Look into the camera. Any parting shots? Any advice?
So, yeah, obviously, One Human Summit. Look out for all the
Speak it to the mic. I mean, the mic is...
Sorry. I was trying to get closer to the camera.
Got you.
So, One Human Summit, follow us. Look out for the comms. So, if you go to the website, we encourage you to interact and engage with the website, where we're asking you to guess who the One Human Summit is, and then also put your name on the early human list, as an early bird. Early human list, so that you can get access to VIP. The real VIP. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, you spicy.
Yeah, that. But I think over and above that, I think, as much as we are trying to build brands and do stuff, do incredible things, I think the one thing that we need to bring into our lives and be more conscious about is how we interact and engage with our children, especially when you start having children and your family. Somebody spoke about the idea that it's not necessarily about work-life balance, but I think it was Jeff Bezos who spoke about work-life harmony, which is something I would encourage and implore people to do. So yes, there's the building of stuff, doing amazing things. Hey, Neighbour, top 16, One Human Summit. But at the end of the day, I think the one thing that is more precious is life. And if we can live life to the fullest whilst we building these things and not be consumed by those things and be able to be aware around our family, spending time with our kids, spending time with our families, I think that is, that for me, I classify as great success, where you are able to integrate your personal life into your work so that it doesn't feel like if you focus on this, you're losing on this, and if you focus on that, you're gonna lose on that. I think it should be one thing, which is why I take my son everywhere. I don't see him as an obstacle, although he's making noise, walking around. He's being destructive. But I think it's important for him to get used to those. When we spoke about, you get to first class and then you're like, oh my goodness, what is happening? I want him to, these things for him to be normal. Going into a studio, going to radio, TV, whatever, they must feel normal.
Yeah.
So
but
I think,
also, you drive home together, you drive to the interview together.
Correct.
So you also spend more time.
More time. No, I think I started living with him this year. I've spent more time with him. He's 8. This year more than I have in the last 7 years.
Hectic.
Where he was with his mother and I would see him every now and again, holidays, weekends, whatever. This is the longest I've spent time with him.
And you love it.
It's incredible. In fact, living with him has actually given me perspective on work. Work doesn't stress me. It's not a lot. Because raising him, for me, that's the biggest challenge. Being responsible for everything.
Yeah.
So that perspective has actually said, work, strategy. So I used to be like, hey, strategy, insights. Now it's like, hey, I need to do this thing quickly so that I can focus on him.
Yeah.
So it has minimized what seemed like a huge thing to like, it's just work.
Yeah.
So that's would be my message. And if you forget everything I've said, One Human Summit.
One Human Summit. Is it March or April 2024?
It's April 2024.
April 2024. All right. Thank you, Bogosi, for making the time.
It's a pleasure.
Appreciate you and wish you all the best with One Human Summit and everything else that you'll be doing. To everyone that gave us their attention and watched this thing till the end, thank you. From me, Pat Mahlangu. Inarha ilale.
Beautiful.
Pat.